Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we discuss the Inquisition's punishment for a traitor inquisitor. A spoiler warning to begin, as the events we're discussing today are from the Warhammer 40k novel Grey Knights by author Ben Counter. As always, I really recommend you read the stories for yourself first without spoilers, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Okay, so given the role and duty the Inquisition plays in helping the Imperium stay safe, having an Inquisitor fall or turn traitor against the Imperium is, thankfully for them, pretty rare. They are of course trained and pushed to resist the strongest of temptations and corruption, arguably becoming pound for pound the Imperium's best defenders. However, of course, given the threats they face, at times, the inevitable does indeed happen. An Inquisitor does find themselves embracing the whispers of the warp, the embrace of the gods of chaos. And usually these figures would ultimately meet their end upon the battlefield, with the Inquisition deeming them a priority target and threat. But of course that's not always the case. Sometimes, rarely, a fallen Inquisitor will be stopped and taken in alive, prisoner, where they will then face their former comrades' judgment. And that's exactly what happens within the story Grey Knights, with the traitor Ordo Malleus Inquisitor Valinov, who had fallen to the corruption of chaos, but had then been captured alive. There was a place on Mimas, just outside the Great Crater, where the earth was torn and scarred. It had been dug up thousands of times by servitor labourers and covered over again. Here and there, seismic activity had caused broken bones, even the odd grinning skull to break the surface, only to be reburied by roving patrol servitors. In the centre of the broken land was a single building in the High Gothic style, its every surface tooled deeply with the images of punishment and retribution. Sinners burning in the many indistinct hells of the imperial cult. Vengeance crashing down on the heads of the heretic. The eyes of the Emperor seeing every sin, and the servants of the Emperor exacting revenge. Men were killed in scores of ways, from hanging to dismemberment to exposure in the toxic Miman atmosphere, all recorded in sculpture on the building's pillars and pediments. Dozens of gun servitors guarded each door. A garrison of Ordo Malleus mind-scrub troops stood permanently at attention in their quarters below the building, ready to react to any threat. The building itself was formed around a central chamber, with many galleries looking onto it, where a single raised platform stood surrounded by seating for dignitaries, technicians, and archivists, like the slab at the centre of an anatomist's theatre. Golik Rensar Valinov was brought to the execution chamber on Mimas 7 weeks after he had been broken by explicator Riggenson. Valinov had not said one word since that day. If anything, he appeared more sullen and uncooperative than before, as if cursing himself silently for letting Riggenson's interrogation crack his mask of infallibility. And so the interrogation staff on Mimas had advised the Lord Inquisitors of the Ordo Malleus that Valinov was of no further intelligence value. The conclave of the Lord Inquisitors unanimously approved the execution of Valinov. It transpired that Legia had indeed been bluffing when she had first questioned Valinov. There would be no elaborate psychic half-death, just an old-fashioned execution. So there's no surprises here. No intricate and elaborate factor the Inquisition has for these betrayers. It is as the Imperium has done since the Great Heresy ended. when the scouring began and the paranoia spread far and wide. To betray the Imperium, to be a heretic, is to face death. Execution is the only judgment a fallen Inquisitor can face. And indeed, in true grimdark fashion, it's death by dismemberment to boot. However, that's not simply the Imperium being its over-the-top self in the grimdark universe. It's actually because they've learned chaos can simply revive their slain servants, as they've had to deal with before. So instead they make sure that that simply cannot happen, which is those random scattered bones that surface and get reburied across the moon's surface. Unnamed, unknown, never to return. However, of course, this judgment doesn't come until after, assuredly, a crippling torture process, ensuring every inch of information that could be extracted psychically has been. And it's very interesting to see it's a conclave of Lord Inquisitors who approves the execution, decides the fate. Yes, we often refer to the Inquisition as a set organisation, but in truth, it's just a host of individual Inquisitors working towards their own end. I wouldn't be surprised to see it was a single Lord Inquisitor who gave the order, perhaps the one who brought the traitor in. But a conclave of Lord Inquisitors shows a surprising democratic process for the Imperium of mankind, and especially the Inquisition. We've seen Inquisitors having to justify their actions to conclaves before. However, seeing them take place to give judgment after an Inquisitor has been declared heretic is admittedly quite surprising to me. But that all leads to why I thought it was important to discuss this moment today. It was a solemn occasion. There was no sadness that Valinov was about to die. There was, however, a shame-tinged regret that a fellow Inquisitor, once a greatly respected and valuable man, should have fallen so low. The Ordo Malleus had lost Inquisitors before, to radicalism and worse fates, but every time it happened, the wound was as deep. The Malleus was proud of what it did, and every traitor amongst them was an affront to that pride. And this is what makes it so important to see. Never do we hear of solemnity or regret when it comes to the Inquisitors of the Imperium. Never. There's no room for it for them. And no, we don't have sadness at a traitor's execution, but we do get this profound sense of regret, and a clear sign that they know what this moment means. To have one of their brotherhood fall. Betray their kindred, betray the Emperor. You read any Inquisitor story and it won't be long before another one of them turns up declaring this particular one a traitor, a radical. If you've read a few Inquisitor stories, you'll be used to it, making it feel like they are used to it as well. And maybe they are. However, this little passage reveals that it still matters to them. It still hurts them as a whole. And I think that makes it important to see. Because as extreme as the Inquisition's gone, as uncompromising and brutal, it shows the purity of their purpose still remains within. It wounds the Ordo's collective pride. Pride, so often referred to as a bad thing, going before the fall. However, there is nothing wrong in being proud of the duty you perform, the role you play, especially in protecting people. In a sense, it means you care. And that's exactly what we see here with the Inquisition. The Inquisitors are proud to serve the Emperor, proud to defend its people. The fact they recognise what the execution of one of their fallen means shows that they are not immune to the cares of humanity, ignorant of what their position means. It almost kind of redeems the Inquisition in a way, for all the mistakes we've seen them make. Well, not quite, but nearly. And of course, what kind of story would it be if Valinov didn't escape this predicament? The seed of chaos sinking deeper into the Ordo than even they expected, showing that even here, at the heart of the Ordo Malleus's power, nowhere is truly safe, truly immune to the ruinous powers. And before Valinov would escape with the aid of his conspirators, we get a reinforcement of the clear importance an Inquisitor's end and judgment has within the Ordo, by the people present within the room, and perhaps more evidence of what an Inquisitor's betrayal means to them as a whole. There's the mandatory staff, the explicator, essentially the interrogator, who is there to record any last words the traitor may speak, a clerk to record the entire event that transpires, a Lord Inquisitor in red ceremonial robes to preside over the service, and all the medical staff. However, then there's a whole host of unnamed dignitaries as well. And if you know anything about the Inquisition, you know that secrecy is paramount. So I really don't think that these so-called dignitaries are just general Imperials not of the Ordo. I think they are very much important people within the Inquisition, because they must have knowledge of the Great Enemy to even be there. And again, with it being members of the Ordo, I think this helps to reveal that it matters to them as a whole. Not simply because it's a heretic meeting his punishment or judgment, although of course that is important, but because it's one of them, one of their own lost. And so this, in their way, is the Inquisition marking it, bearing witness to the moment, the destruction of chaos, the protection of the Imperium, but also the remembrance of what was lost, the tightrope and duty that each and every one of the Inquisition must walk. Again, it's a brief little part, but one I really wanted to discuss today, as it shows two sides to the Inquisition. On first glance, one we see so often on the surface, the uncompromising, brutal prosecuting Inquisition, the one you could argue it needs to be to perform its duty. However, then on further examination, the revelation of the people within, the people who have to live that life and survive, the people who alone understand what it takes to face the true enemy. But as always everyone, what do you think? Does it surprise you that the execution of a traitor inquisitor is actually a very solemn service? That it is clearly noted and felt within the Ordos? Or would you have expected it to be far more straightforward, over and done with? That they would see a heretic and nothing more? Is it interesting to see that it's a council of fellow inquisitors who still decide their fate, even after the declaration of betrayal and capture? Or is it the only way the Inquisition can truly run? And does this help to give an understanding to the people behind those Inquisitor titles? Does it show a side to the Inquisitors that we rarely get to see? That there is more to them behind their uncompromising actions? And will it make you think twice the next time a Traitor Inquisitor turns up in the lore? As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. A huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.